that you get to look in the mirror and like what you see.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means putting on your corporate Aaron voice and talking about your management and your deliverables and getting rid of your New Orleans accent. And we're just going to do that today because this is what's going to get me through the day without the Karens of the world coming for me.
Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Justin Dallas, and this is Inherently Gay, the culture podcast talking about all things that shape up the queer identity, the experiences, and that adjacent. I'm super excited today. We are talking about navigating the spaces as your authentic self, whether that be as someone who identifies as queer, disabled, POC, etc., all about the corporate workspaces. This is the episode about girl bossing. Today, I am super excited to welcome to the podcast one of my favorite people, Fallon Blossom.
Hi. Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you. Do you want to do like a quick little intro about you?
Sure. So Fallon Blossom, I do content things. I call myself a content Swiss Army knife, truly, because I can produce it, strategize it, design it, put the thing down, flip it and reverse it. Mm-hmm. All of it.
We love. And this episode is all about, thriving, being your best self in the corporate world. And I'm super blessed and happy how we met initially.
We met at work.
Yeah, so we initially met as work besties. You were actually my work buddy / mentor as I came on right before the pandemic back in 2020.
Whew. Oh, dark times.
It was a dark time.
It was a time.
But I think it was written in the stars. It was fate that you were, assigned to me because, I feel like I've learned so much from you. I've got to see you just be, y'all, Fallon is a beast at what she does on and off the court, I feel like I'm so happy that we're friends in real life now. And I feel like I just go to you for all things wisdom related that I need to. I feel like I'll come to you and be like, hey, I'm struggling with this or I'm thinking this. And you're just like, girl, I've been there, done that. So I'm excited to have you on. Just share your wisdom with the rest of the world.
Oh my God. I'm going to cry. That's too sweet.
Well, yeah, we'll insert a little, cheering audio there. But no, we're excited to have you. And really the core focus of the episode is navigating being your best self.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to have you on because I learned how to be, my best self, by seeing you, a strong woman of color doing what you did at the workplace. So
thank you.
I'm excited just to have that conversation.
I am too. Also, I had no idea that's how you saw me. I'm like, try not to get emotional. Also, I'm a little sick, so just bear with the snot and maybe a cough and a crackle. Sorry in advance. But yeah, I have to be honest with you, I don't really always see myself like that. So I'm like, wow, is this what it is? Is this what I'm giving? Because for me, all I'm really trying to do most times is kind of get through the day and get through it with being aligned with my values, not messing with my integrity, and trying to have fun and be joyful and be kind.
Yeah.
I think all of these things are inherently Fallon. Those are my values.
Yeah.
And I try to do my best to align my words, my thoughts, my actions, the choices that I make about jobs, friends, all those things around that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think 2024, my personal goal is just to share my appreciation more vocally. So I'm here to give her flowers, give her tins, tins across the board. But I love that you talked about your values and, bringing joy into the workplace because, girl,
it's hard.
This past year, okay, so just talking about corporate alone, just the workforce alone, it has been a beast in the past year. I'm sure a lot of people who are listening right now can relate. I was personally affected by the massive tech layoffs. You were, so were many others. It was a beast. So the fact that you're still, saying and being a champion of just being authentic, being who you are, practicing joy, that's super important.
Well, I learned the hard way, so I'm going to tell this to all of the people so y'all don't have to figure it out the way I did.
Mm-hmm.
Work is never really going to love you back.
Hello.
It's not gonna love you back. And even if you're the boss, truly, everybody gets tired of working. I don't know anybody who really, really wants to work. We all just know we need money to survive and to be fabulous and do the things. But yeah, it's never gonna love you back. But you have to love yourself all the time. Like you and your brother talked about self-care, like self-love, self-actualization, self-determination. It's all extensions of that. And if you can't figure out who you are, get excited about that, get happy about that, how will anyone or any entity, be it a job, a family member, a friend, or a lover, how they gonna get excited about you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like one of those questions that used to piss me off is like, "Ooh, what's your story?" I'm like, all right, come on. But it's true. Like ultimately people really just want to know who you are. And I would say that most people, since I'm going to assume that like the best in humanity, they just really want to figure out who they are so y'all can figure out how you connect in, not to hate on you, not to cause you harm. Again, these are my values and the way that I choose to kind of navigate the cabin of earth.
Yeah.
But yeah, it all comes to me. It all flows from self.
Yeah.
Truly.
No, yeah, I agree. And I think that's why I love and see you as a mentor, because I'm also on that path of like, just, authenticity, just being myself, be true to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so true, especially as someone, I've been working since I was 18, but I got into the corporate world, during college internships. I was young. I wanted to do so well. I wanted to thrive in this corporate sense. By nature, my upbringing, I was naturally, the oldest sibling, the perfect student. I was an overachiever, so I wanted to be a boss at what I did. I didn't just settle for the bare minimum, but one of the things I've learned as I've come into myself is really you have to know who you are before anything. Like it's very cliche, and like RuPaul even says it, like, how the hell are you gonna love someone else if you can't love yourself? Like you have to know who you are in and out before you can even interact with the rest of the world. And
yeah,
I like that you even said that it's not even about the corporate world. Like this goes for, finding your own tribe, finding your partner, finding things that bring you joy. You have to understand who you are. And I feel like for those who know who they are, and for those who already have that locked and secured, there's even another conversation or another dance that you have to kind of balance, especially in the corporate world. Because if you are, whether you're queer, POC, disabled, you have all these other, different identities that you hold within yourself.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to, embrace that and bring your full self to work. And I think a lot of people don't think or don't know that they can bring their full selves to work just because of, the corporate environment that exists.
I'm gonna push back on that with love.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that it is smart to bring your full self to work.
Yeah.
That's how I got burnt out. That's how I burned myself out multiple times. Because again, I will say this will be my refrain. I'm singing a song of my people throughout this episode. Corporate ain't gonna love you back.
Yeah.
It's not. Like okay, let's talk about the current landscape of tech, right?
Mm-hmm.
That video that just came out, the lady who got laid off, poor thing. She got hired, the holidays hit, she has a baby, and then she gets laid off by two people who don't even know her, right? Like not even on her team. I mean, I was in a life-threatening car accident last year. I took medical leave, I went back to work, and on the 7th day, she was laid off.
Yeah.
There are so many use cases, umpteenth examples of corporate and jobs and industries in this company just taking people and throwing them away because the needs of the business have changed.
Yeah.
Oh, new strategy now. Oh, we're pivoting. They're never going to admit that they made bad choices in hiring or not hiring, bad choices in investing or not investing. All you're going to hear is that you're no longer needed.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
And it doesn't matter what you've done for them.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much money you've made for them. Child, you'll drop dead and they'll have a rec open next week. Yeah. They might have coffee in the break room and then it's back to business as usual. Please don't cry over here. That's not really like maybe we'll get you some better help, but suck it up. It's not gonna love you back. So I would honestly argue if you are othering of any kind, you strategically bring whatever part of yourself to work It is needed to get the job done, to make sure that you're hitting those business objectives, because, baby, if you're not, they're going to get rid of you. And that you can sleep at the end of the day. That you get to look in the mirror and like what you see. Yeah. And sometimes that means putting on your corporate Aaron voice and talking about your management and your deliverables and getting rid of your New Orleans accent. And we're just going to do that today because this is what's going to get me through the day without the Karens of the world coming for me.
The corporate Aaron, the manager of the managers of the
managers.
McManagement.
Truly, like, seriously. Like, I know some people who do that so that they can perform and also be themselves.
Yeah.
So I've learned to, this is a pivot on previous Fal. Current Fal is not in the business of judging or hating on what people have to do to get through the day, especially if they're marginalized. And the deeper the levels of marginalization, I'm like, baby, you do whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
And let me know how I can support you.
No, yeah, so I agree. I think what I mean by like knowing yourself is you have to know yourself so that you're able to set boundaries.
Yes.
Because I think in the past, listen, y'all, I'm a very emotional person. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I love doing my best, but that's just, it's in 2024, we're setting boundaries. We are not putting our work in front of our happiness.
Yeah.
I think before, I was impacted by the layoffs. Before I was laid off, I removed Slack, I removed email, all of that from my phone months prior because I'm like, it doesn't matter what you do. Like,
those dings, you like get the ding and you're like, ugh.
It's PTSD, literally. I would wake up in the middle of the night. I'd have nightmares. I think before I was in a high stress job, I literally broke out in shingles, y'all, because of stress from my job. And now it's all about boundaries. Like, I don't dream of labor, but if I had to do, I'm bringing in those values in the interview process. I'm asking that recruiter, So how do y'all promote somebody? What is the level of, progress someone can make in your company? Yeah. How many days do you actually take off in a year?
Right.
What does that look like?
Yes.
How do you celebrate your people who are champions of
what does work-life balance look like in practice?
Hello.
Let's ground that in the actual. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about what your wellness routine looks like, supported by work TM. What's going on?
Because I think a lot of the times, we forget when we're applying to jobs, you are interviewing the company and them and your potential boss just as much as they're interviewing you.
Value match.
Yeah, exactly.
Values.
So you have to know who you are.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Even if you don't know, right? Because I feel a lot more confident in this version of me because I had a voluntary and involuntary break and time to sit and be with that. But like I was telling you before we started recording, the version that is sitting here right now is not the same person that I was before the accident last year. And 5 years ago, Fal is different. And so I think that even if you don't feel super comfortable and concrete and grounded in where you are now, just know all of these things are subject to change. But I think it's really more so about getting comfortable enough to try and experiment and actually just vocalize what's working and what's not working for you. Because the way I figured out my values is I kept hitting my head against the wall. And I'm like, I'm really tired of feeling like this. I don't really want to feel like this anymore. Let's get curious about this and figure out why does this keep happening to me?
Yeah.
Why do I keep running around in the same circles? And eventually you figure it out. And if you can do a good transmutation of the trauma, that's probably not even a word. But if you can transmute that trauma and turn it into something good, that becomes the fuel that takes you forward, and that allows you to navigate when things don't go right with ease. Again, we're both sitting here fun employed, but I don't think that there's no lack of joy in this room.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it didn't break us. We're not dead.
Yeah.
So now what?
Yeah. And I think, honestly, just kind of going off of that, I think I truly, shifted mindsets and actually became more happier when I embraced my flaws and I embraced the fact that I cannot shoulder everything on me. I cannot be perfect. And that just goes back to how much time and energy you give into yourself versus you give into the company. And I think, we talked about that earlier about you have to know yourself to set boundaries. Mm-hmm. I think boundaries is huge in the corporate world because corporate Aaron is going to, you know, take and take and take as much. It's like an unhealthy relationship.
Oh, girl. She pushed Black History Month to January because of efficiency.
For 2 days.
For 2 days.
Yeah.
And again, we're laughing and we're joking, but we're not. Because I think anybody who sees corporate Erin, who eyes start twitching and start shaking a little bit, it is triggering for a reason. Because we have all encountered some person or some department. Oh, there's whole departments full of them. There's whole companies full of them. And it just flies in the face of what actually just makes sense for like people. Like we go to work and then we turn into these weird like worker bots. But why?
At my age and like where I'm at in my life, like I'm grappling, one, at getting frustrated and fed up with corporate Erin and not wanting to tell her off.
Right.
And two, setting those boundaries within myself of like, okay, I'm only going to reveal so much of myself. When I have a coworker that I don't really care for and they're wanting to know my weekend plans, I'm like, it's great. It was good. Like, we're not having a big conversation. You're not getting my Instagram handle. You're not knowing where I'm at. Like, I'm not sharing that personal life with you because I have to hold on to some happiness.
I wouldn't suggest that at all. I would suggest keeping your socials, especially private. It's so interesting. As I'm applying for jobs now, I'm noticing on some applications that they're actually asking for your social handle. And I'm like, no, never. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
That ain't none of your damn business. Why you want to know? To me, that's weird. I feel like I don't agree that there should be a very much of an enmeshment. Again, like I said, I don't believe in bringing your full self to work. Maybe it's because I'm a little elder or millennial raised by boomers. But I do believe in keeping certain things private and sacred. And because yourself, your full self, can and will be used against you in the court of corporate.
Yep.
And with no Miranda rights, with not a lot of opportunities for relief.
With timestamps, receipts, everything.
When those things are violated, you gotta kind of keep some stuff to yourself. You really do. Like, unfortunately, like, I don't regret going on medical leave, but I absolutely believe that hurt me.
Yeah.
100%.
And that's another thing about corporate America is just like, they say unlimited PTO, they offer all of these things, but how frequent are you actually taking those things? And what is kind of like the unspoken words of like, oh, Maddie in, engineering, he hasn't taken, a day off all year. He's getting celebrated. Meanwhile, I was promised the PTO and I'm going to therapy. I'm using it to go to therapy and I'm getting it held against me.
And someone else has been doing 4-day weeks all year and no one else bats an eye. I don't know. Look, I don't think I'll ever even claim to understand how corporates, but again, if we're offering tips and tricks for people to figure this out, just pay attention to the culture. Ask those questions. Like I had a recruiter call earlier today, and I think that one of the best questions that she asked me was, what are you looking for out of a workplace? And in those moments, yes, you do bring your full self to those answers, because if you don't really claim and say what you want, and for me, it was a culture and environment that will foster and inspire creativity, collaboration, innovation, experimentation, and safety. I know those things because that's important to me. And I said that. I looked the lady in the face and I said that. And she looked at me and she said, you'll find that here. Okay. She could totally be lying, right?
Yeah.
But if not, I found exactly where I want to work. Period. And everybody knows from the beginning.
Yeah.
So bringing your full self to work just like globally, just all the time? No. Strategically, yes.
Yeah. That I agree. Yeah, that I do agree with. Like, I think it's important to set boundaries. And I think with bringing yourself to work, I think everything is a hot topic right now in the corporate world, especially like DEI and DEI initiatives and, come talk to me because I'm also gay, or I'm also, Latino, like come over here, do this, or like, are you going to take this day off because you're celebrating this? Like, can we just talk about like DEIs or DEI-don'ts?
Yeah, well, you are talking to a former global ERG leader. Yes,
ERG is Employee Resource Group.
Oh, yes, thank you for defining that. Yeah, and I led our Black people group, to put it bluntly, during George Floyd. So, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Chile.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
That is its own thing. I regret nothing. I would probably do it a little different.
Yeah.
I would do it a little different because I did not put up a boundary. There was not a line between me, the mission, the cause, putting everybody who was melanated on my back and being like, no, we're gonna make it happen for us. Yeah, that's tough. That is tough. Because I will say this. It's a gift and a curse. It helped me professionally. Looks good on the resume. Mm-hmm. It is also in line with my values. I'm a speak truth to power, or if love ain't being served, flip the tabler. That's me. However, especially now looking at where how that company has kind of rode that wave since then, I don't really feel like it made as much of an impact as I wanted it to. I don't think that the quality of work life has materially improved for people there. And so like I feel sad about that. I feel guilt about that, but I also know I did everything I could. So I feel like, I'll get a little churchy on you. If you feel called to do that type of work at work, honor that.
Yeah. The
moment it becomes a burden, drop it like a hot coal.
Yeah. Well, because they give it to you, and then they almost like the leadership of the company almost expects you to run and do everything with it. And it makes you wonder. It's like, okay, well, you're saying it's important as you're advertising it to future, applicants. Why aren't you, immersing yourself in that? Why aren't you trying to learn that? Why are you giving this thing to, Fallon and being like, okay, Fallon, you run with it? Like, you're a C-suite level person. You should be taking as much initiative as, anyone else.
Well, and it gets really uncomfortable and awkward when you're in those rooms and you have to actually make the case and advocate for your humanity to be acknowledged and affirmed by the organization. Yeah. Because in America and capitalism, we treat corporations like people until we don't. Mm-hmm. There are people in the court of law. There are people in the bank. But when it comes down to actually dealing with human identity and the interpersonal stuff that comes up, oh no, we're not a person. We're an entity. No. We're not human centered. We're not. No. That's not what we're here for. Yeah. We're a security company. We build things. No. We build things. We don't do people. Yeah. It's like, no, well, humans build things. Humans uphold these systems. They break them, design them, redesign them, however we see fit. So how have y'all lost all creativity? How are we fresh out of ideas in this whole industry of innovation when it comes to queerness? Oh, how are we fresh out of ideas?
It's like now we're drawing a blank.
Right. Okay, I got your song. Oh, you ain't got nothing to say now? Yep. How?
And having been laid off, now that's why I'm always like, be selfish with your time, be stingy, protect yourself. Don't give all of yourself away, because I was going to ask you this question, but I kind of answered it myself. But like,
ask me.
Sometimes I feel like, do you think like some of the DEI initiatives and employee resource groups and all of these things they're offering are really just for show? Like it's a cardboard stand and there's nothing behind it. Like from people who are leading it and, being leaders like yourself, obviously you're going to be caring about it. But in terms of leadership, I feel like sometimes it's just something to put on a checklist of like, we're having this, it made a quota, come join our company.
Here's what I will say. Let's play the perspective shift. So from the perspective of the company, what value does this add? Okay, so an ERG and ERGs add value to the stakeholders. Looks good on paper to corporate. It's not only to corporate, but to the public, because I think society now cares about showing that type of thing. I think, the research has shown diverse teams end up making more money. So, like, I think there actually is a value add for the company that they do acknowledge. And also, it doesn't tend to move the needle materially for the people who it's intended to serve. Yep. And it is a safe place for the people who are in it. It is. And what value does that add to them? Well, back when I was doing that stuff, I could be an ear for people. I was an ear for you. Yeah. I could help give them some information in the background to help them navigate some stuff. They could tell me some things and I could listen out for it and watch out for it and make sure that it doesn't happen again. So like it does add a value to everyone, but how is that value weighed in the aggregate? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How much is that value worth? How much does $1 cost? And I unfortunately don't think, I think that because we haven't yet made enough of a business case, or the tech world has not yet figured out a way to align diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging to the bottom line, I don't think that there's been a good enough case to be made to connect the dots and make it super obvious that it's helpful. And because they have the opportunity to poo-poo it, they will. And they do. So it's a bummer. So I'm not willing to throw it all away. I'm not going to say don't invest in it. It's just strategically. Do it and make sure that you can handle it. Do it and make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Because the other opportunity they gave, it got the opportunity for me to be a leader and looked at as a leader. Because they were never going to promote me. Yeah. They were never going to make me a manager of people. But they couldn't say I couldn't lead. Because they watched me build that ERG from here to there. And they watched all of the things that I helped foster. So it's like, yeah, you're not going to give me that nod of manager, but you saw me manage. You know it. I know it. This whole entire organization knows it. And then I can take that to the bank when I get up out of here and I go to the next place.
Yeah. It's almost like it allowed you to play their own game back at them and build your own portfolio.
But through line, strategy, that's the through line. Always be strategizing. That's the best advice that I could give you. And you're a better strategist when you know what you're working with.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the idea of like closed mouths don't get fed. Like just inherently being an other in a corporate environment, you set the tone for, your own success. Yeah. Just already being an other, you're not going to be the first person getting thought of for promotions and all of these things. Maybe you have to, you have to have, your own one-on-one meetings and set the tone and manage up. You have to tell your boss, hey, listen, I'm working on all of these things. I work in HR or the people team as a recruiter. That's kind of like what my specialty is. And I always tell my friends, like, you should keep a document, documenting every single success you did, everything you've done. Anytime you get praise, writing that down, all these little things, because when it comes time for your end of year review or performance, they're going to be like, okay, well, you tell us what you did. And you don't want to be left on your ass and not know. I'm obnoxious with my documentation. Same.
They
don't like that.
Oh, it gets on their last nerves, but you can't deny it. You can't deny it. I'm also a data person. That's the other thing. I came into tech after working in ed research for 7 years. I'm like, baby, qualitative, quantitative, how you want it? Numbers, anecdotes, stories, graphs.
TikToks, Reels.
Bitch. Yeah. What?
Yeah.
All of it. We could do it. We could do it. And they can't stand it, but you can't deny it. The last time that I had a review, I know I got on everybody's nerves. I'm sorry, y'all. But the last time that I had a review, child, I went through Slack and I pulled out every single time somebody said, Fallon, you did something good. And I hyperlinked it and put it in a document. I did a narrative summary of all of the goals that I said, all the ways I hit them. Yes. I mean, because again, at the time I was working in video. So I was like, I did this and this and this and this. Here are the links to all the videos I worked on. I'm like, baby. You want it, you got it. Oh, write a summary. I was like, oh, what? I have a whole deck. I will build a deck to sing the song of what Fallon has done because I had to learn the hard way. I got my little heart broke. The first heartbreak in my little career was me thinking that my work was going to speak for itself.
You have to have the audacity of a mediocre white man in this business, because you have to sing your own praises. And what gets a lot of the corporate environment is sometimes when, either HR or your own manager doesn't like you, they cannot like you all they want, but you singing your own praises and being able to stand on business and back that up, they can't take that from you. No. So at one of my last companies, I had a boss who was, let's just say they were a personality hire. Great talking. They could sell ice to a penguin, but when it came down to business, there was a lot of gaps. There was a lot of questions to be left around.
Did you just beautiful gowns this person? I think you did, but continue.
So we're reading today. But no.
Where's my glasses?
Okay, but no, this person, they were my manager, and having worked in a startup, having gone through, many bosses within a year, I knew how to take care of myself and protect myself.
Yeah.
So I documented everything. I had X, Y, and Z. They came up to me during the one-on-one and being like, Justin, you don't have to document everything, or, let's just keep it light, because we didn't get along personally
Red
or
flag.
personality wise. They didn't like that I was keeping track of everything. And when it came time to me eventually getting laid off, I asked, what was the reason for this? And when it was brought about performance, I had a whole spreadsheet of, this is everything that I was doing well. Every one-on-one we had, you've only been singing my praises. Where was the switch up? So, it really is a dog eat dog. Like it's you're swimming with sharks. You have to protect yourself.
Yeah. Well, and even if you don't want to necessarily, like, if looking at competition and like, it coming for me is not your thing, it's just more so about accuracy. It's more about advocacy. It's like, hey, look, I did this. Yeah. I did it. Objectively, I did it. And depending on the type of organization you're in, how busy your manager is and how they decide to manage, sometimes they really just don't know. Even if it's not malicious intent, it's just always better to have an accurate depiction and description of what you've done, the value you've added, the problems you've solved, how you have contributed to the business, because ultimately those are the people who continue to be employed. Yeah. Those are the people who will always stay employed. Those are the people who rise the ranks. You can ignore the game at your peril because everybody else is playing it. Yeah. You just got to figure out what kind of player you going to be. But to think that you could get in and not play the game, or you'll be above the game, no, baby. It don't work like that.
And also, I just want to say, like, it's okay, too, if you are fed up and you're at your end and you're like, I don't want to play this game, and you want to wipe your hands and leave. Yeah. Like, then leave. That's also, I've done that before where I'm like, this environment is too toxic. I hate that I'm not being my true self, or I hate that, like, the person I have to turn into for this specific environment. I'd rather play the game differently, have different roles at another company. I've done that before.
I'm literally doing it now, to the tune of like, okay, all right, I was laid off. I could have started trying to look for work a long time ago, but no, I felt in my spirit that I just needed to sit down. I needed to think hard and long about what I wanted and what I wanted to do with my time and how I wanted to feel about how I spent that time. Because I had been ignoring how what I had been doing was impacting me for so long, and ignored it to the point where it was becoming like a yell. So it's just like, oh, no, sit yourself down, really, really, truly figure out like how you want to do this so that everything can be in alignment. Yes. And not just like, oh, okay, well, I'm kind of happy here and this is kind of working over there, but it's not quite. No. There's a way for me to get every single thing that I want on my terms, but it will have to require something from me. And what it required from me was some time and some quiet and going a little slower. Yeah. And, so far it's been working out. Bitch ain't working still. But
you're also not settling. Yeah.
I'm not really settling, and I'm even navigating this period of confusion, disruption, chaos with joy. I don't look like what I've been through, and I don't know. I think that that's something that queer folks, Black folks, all kinds of other folks, that is our special sauce. Those are the things that we can kind of take and use to our benefit, because we know how to struggle. We know how to be uncomfortable. Yeah. We know how to go it out, and we know how to make 10 out of 2.
Yeah. I think it's all about resilience, and it's like kind of like how you were saying, like, at the end of the day, I want to feel happy with how I interacted with the world and who I am. And I didn't want anything to change my values or change who I am. Yeah. And anchoring myself in that, because I'll tell you, I've also met other people who are othered in the company, but kind of like what you learn as a kid is like,
kinfolk ain't kinfolk. Yeah. And I feel like I'm like, just like values. That will allow you the type of discernment to understand who's kinfolk and who are just skinfolk. Yeah. I don't walk into a situation automatically assuming that every Black person or every woman is going to look at me and be like, yeah, she's cool, we're going to get along just fine. I hope that in my
Yeah.
heart, but again, I've made that assumption to my peril. I have.
Same.
Whatever. But I'm not going to let that harden my heart to the possibility of a connection.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cautiously optimistic now.
Yeah.
But I'm not giving anybody all of me. Nobody gets all of me.
Yeah.
I'm the only one who gets all of me.
Yeah. And I think that's healthy. That's a healthy boundary. I think if we have these mindsets with, dating, with friends,
Yes.
why not bring that into one of the least personal things, which is, your career and working with your coworkers? I think kind of like what you're talking about with feeling and how you're healing yourself. I kind of want to pivot and talk a little bit about, healing and taking care of yourself in this age of giving so much.
Rest.
Yeah.
Rest. Getting off that phone, getting outside, touching grass. So one thing that I literally had to do this because of my accident, because I was hit on my left side and I tore the fascia from my neck to my ankle. So like my whole left side has been like swollen and inflamed and in various stages of pain for months, darling.
Went through it.
For months. Before that, I was lifting a bunch. I was trying to get my little abs, you heard me. I had like 3 in a possible. They're gone now, but it's okay. I couldn't lift anymore. I couldn't run. I couldn't do anything. All I could do was walk. And so I started taking these walks over there by the lake. And my friend Cherise, hey Cherise, she took me like on my first walk out there, and I was like, wow, this is kind of nice. And so now I get my ass up and I just go out there and walk.
Yeah.
And sometimes I leave my phone in the car, and there's literally something about just walking around, seeing a little turtle swimming, seeing little birds flying, just having the sun on your face, being by water. I feel like water gives me things, just like really truly getting outside and just taking a walk.
Yeah.
Meditating, being more mindful, traveling. Oh man, I'm a Sagittarius. I'm a true Sagittarius, baby. Put me on a flight. I'm gonna create a new person. I will come back.
Problems are gone.
No, truly. I went on this crazy trip to Panama, Colombia, and Mexico, and I came back and I was like, she's ready.
Yeah, exactly.
She's ready. So I think just finding all of those things that really kind of can get, reading books. We talked about this.
Yes.
Oh my God, me and my friend Alexis will go sit and book people and just walk around there for hours and nerd out about books. Food is a joy for me. Like sitting there and enjoying a wonderful meal, watching a great movie, having a good conversation with a friend, like really just trying to ground myself in being human and just being excited about being alive and just like taking that joy and spreading it all over everything. But for me, again, I could have died.
Yeah.
So I had to start from zero. How can you get into the fact that you ain't dead, baby?
Back to the basics.
How can you get into the fact that you still not dead and that today's Tuesday and that you can get some tacos? Right?
Yeah. No, it's eye-opening and like it's getting back to the basics, and I feel like sometimes it sounds silly, but it's just like taking care of yourself. Did you wash your face today? Did you eat?
Did you brush your teeth?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, again, there were some chunks of that time where the basic stuff wasn't even happening, bro. I was struggling. And then I was so proud that I didn't want to admit that I was struggling to anybody because again, like as we started this podcast, I think that a lot of people see me differently than I see myself, and I'm working on my damnedest to make that align.
Yeah.
But like, because I feel like people see me this certain type of way, I definitely did not feel comfortable being like, I literally cannot get out of bed right now. I literally cannot brush my teeth today. I literally cannot shower today. And I feel so bad, but like, I just need a hug with my funky ass. Like, I didn't even feel strong enough to do that. Me.
But it's those things that make you human and make you, real and relatable to people. I had this idea of wanting to be perfect and perfectionism with like my work, this podcast, everything I do. And it's just like, people can't relate to perfectionism. No. People relate to the flaws, the humanness, the experience. And I like to think that the pandemic happened for a reason and we were all quarantined because it gave us time to slow down and rest. Yeah. And I think more recently, me getting affected by the layoff and so many others getting affected by that really forced us to rest because my body was gonna rest with either getting laid off or of choice. And I'm so glad that I'm resting and going back to the basics now.
Did you notice or realize like how your like nervous system was overactivated back when you were working? Like I get these like random like cortisol spikes when I'm stressed, and I can feel it so strongly now in a way that I never felt it before, which makes me think I'm just like, child, you lived spiked.
Yeah. It's like we live and thrive in the chaos. And again, if we're healing all of those other parts of ourselves within therapy, with relationships and
Oh,
family, and healing all of those, past traumas, we need to heal and find other things that aren't healthy in the work environment and heal those things too.
Oh yeah.
I think for me, like, I'm just getting to that place where I don't want anything to disturb my peace.
Huh. Period.
Yeah.
And I asked myself a question, and I I challenged myself to ask my friends this question: what would give you peace around this?
Mm-hmm.
How could you give yourself the gift of peace around the situation? And I think that for me, elder millennial me, closer to 40 than not me, it usually means letting shit go. It usually means not letting shit bother me.
Yeah.
In a way that 20-year-old Fal, oh, she was sitting already. It's like, no, hell no. They violated, disrespected, off with their heads. Now I'm like, child, ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah.
I'm like, do I even have enough energy to get pissed off about this? No.
In the energy that you do have, it's like, do I want to give it to this other person? There's this whole theory about like the let them theory. It's like,
yes.
basically, it's just like, if they have a problem with you, if there is something wrong, let them tell you. Don't let you do all that deciphering and doing all of that manual labor, mental mind games to do all of that, because you're only hurting yourself.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. So one other thing that I forgot to mention about the healing thing, like I did walk, I did touch grass, but your girl was also talking to the lady weekly. You hear me? Weekly. Big proponent of therapy. Big proponent of culturally competent therapy.
Mm-hmm.
All of my therapists have been culturally competent and shared some identity with me. Value match. Value match for the win. Oh shit, I forgot my point. What were you saying before? Remind me. A little ADD self.
Just resting, and
I did have a point.
we'll come back to it.
We're gonna come back to it.
Yeah,
I lost
we'll come back to
it.
it.
It was gonna be a good one too. Damn. All right. Go ahead.
No, but like, I think we need to create non-negotiables. I think I'm a big proponent of like a non-negotiable of self-care or rest whenever, because I think it's so easy to get out of the, the present and get so baffled with what's going on. I think having these non-negotiables, whether it's, you work from home and it's like, okay, in the morning, I'm going to have my coffee uninterrupted. I'm going to go walk around, or at lunchtime, I'm going to go, touch some grass, walk my dog, do something, having those in place already, being buffers for your own sanity, really.
Oh yeah, I came up with a morning routine that works out for me real nice, because I gotta move myself. I gotta move my body. I kind of work things out by moving my body. So like, I get up, I do these like little stretches. I'll make some coffee or some tea. I'll put some music on, and then my day starts. But like, up until that point, I'm like, that first hour, hour and a half, two, if I'm really good, mine. Completely mine. To do nothing, to do everything, move my body, kind of wake up, get my spirit going. And then I think a warm up and a cool down for your day, especially if you're working, even if you're not working.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just because I ain't been working doesn't mean we haven't been busy.
Hello.
I've found things to do with my time. I've found ways to hone my craft. I've learned new things. I've practiced new things. So yes, indeed. I think too, because humans, even children, like everybody craves consistency and some type of sense of order.
Mm-hmm.
And as you grow up and you become an adult, no one's going to give that to you. You have to create that order out of chaos for yourself.
That's so scary. Oh my gosh. You literally are. It's one of the greatest things, but also scariest things of like, you are in charge of your own happiness. Like,
Yeah.
90% of the time it's like in my head, and I'm like, wait, let me stop. Why am I stressing about this? Have I even eaten? Is that why I'm stressing?
Oh my gosh. How many times back when I was like super in the flow that I was dysregulated because I was hungry?
Yeah.
Like, what is the source of my dysregulation? That's another beautiful question to ask yourself. Did you eat?
Yeah.
Did you eat? But also too, again, like, I know I'm touch starved. So like for me, whenever I see my friends, I'm like, hug me, please.
Yeah.
Hold me close. Like, just identifying where you're lacking and just kind of picking up the slack for yourself a little bit. Because again, like, I need more hugs these days. So I'm getting and receiving more hugs because this is what I need. Once I get my hugs in, then I'll probably be on to something else.
Yeah.
But being able and brave enough to just claim what you want, because all people can do is say no. And I know handling rejection is difficult. She's not good at it. And that's usually what stops people from asking for what they want. But if you don't, then you're definitely not going to get it.
Yeah, and I think even everybody else is thinking about their own problems.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's so self-involved. She is self-involved.
Yeah, I mean, I am too. Like, hello, anxiety. She's anxiety riddled. It's in my genes. But it's like, ask and you shall receive, whether it's a yes or no. Like, you're probably worried about this one thing. And that even goes with, like, your bosses with advocating, like, kind of tying it back to advocating for yourself. Like, you might be so scared to ask for, you know, the time off or a raise or whatever, what mind you, but they might not be even thinking about it. They're thinking about their own stresses and navigating their own, you know, mind in this corporate world. So just doing what you need to do. And I think lastly, with kind of healing and self-care and really carving out time for yourself, I've been seeing a lot of TikToks about finding your third place.
Oh.
So you have, you know, your home, you have your work, but finding a third place that kind of brings that joy, whether that be, you know, the gym or a bookstore or, you know, a hobby or club, you know, just really finding, you know, what is that time where I can just be myself.
That's amazing. That is a really good thing because I feel like this makes me kind of think about like my little cousins in my family and like younger folks coming up. Oh my God, I sound such like an auntie because they don't really have a third place. I'm just relating that to like people complaining about young girls shopping in Sephora. I'm like, baby, where they gonna shop?
Yeah.
Ain't no Limited 2, ain't no Aeropostale, ain't no American Eagle. Like you don't just drop kids off at the mall and they just walk around and do the stuff that they used to do when we were younger. But that third place is so important because once you get so enmeshed, if your identity is grounded in what you do and you're not in love with what you do, you can't be in love with yourself.
And then when it all comes tumbling down, what then?
When you lose your job, then what? You're about ready to jump off the damn library. But baby, you should have never, like, the two things don't go together. So like advocating, I'm here to advocate for you figuring out who you are outside of what you do. And if you can figure out a way to get what you do aligned with what you are, then you win. But ultimately, capitalism waits for no one. It requires a blood sacrifice. We all have to do it.
I hate capitalism. I hate working. I don't dream of labor. But I mean, if you're going to do it, if I have to do it, I might as well be happy and I might as well get paid good for it. And I know a lot of people are stressing right now. They're, you know, unemployed or they might even hate their jobs. You might have a job, but you might hate it. You know, it's okay. And that's fine. But it's just like I'm manifesting you to have the best job you want. And kind of like at the end of the day, we're working to live. We're not living to work.
Amen.
So finding those pockets of love, finding those pockets of mindfulness, finding those pockets of self-care. I think those are the big things because at the end of the day, life is short. We're living a silly, goofy little life. Be your little silly, goofy self. Do what you want to do, you know, and don't stress about the little things. Like there's so many things to stress about: health, love, all these things. Work should not be a big stressor.
No, it really shouldn't. And if it is keeping you up at night and if it is causing you stress, start trying to figure out a way to get out. Like a lot of us don't really have the luxury of choice. A lot of us can't really pivot really quickly, but you can always figure out a way to take care of you. And like, oh child, what is that Denzel Washington thing? Leave with something. Yep. Okay? Don't come in that motherfucker and don't leave with nothing. Take the plant. Leave with something.
Oh, I took time. When I was at the end, I mean, I took time. I'm like, I'm going to go. I was working remote, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put do not disturb and I'm going to go run my little errands.
Oh, baby, work used to pay for these nails.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like,
I was taking meetings by poolside.
Oh, I was definitely the one getting braided on the clock. Full show, camera off, down. What?
And because I know how to play the game, I was corporate Aaron. I was, you know, corporate, circle back. And we don't have enough time to get into it, but corporate jargon is going to make me go insane. I think not working, that's one thing I'm grateful for, is not having to deal with, you know, jargon and playing that bull crap game. I think Listen, I am trilingual at this point. I know English, I know a little bit of Spanish, and I know, how to circle back before the end of the day by the meeting. Let me run it to you. Like,
Oh yeah, let me pick your brain for a second. Let's just like have a little brainstorm. I'm looking for a thought partner to figure out, how we're gonna get these deliverables on time and under budget.
FYI, if we can get that by EOD, that'd be GR8. Like,
GR8.
it's improv. Like, at times I'm like, are we just making words up at this moment? Like, it's crazy.
It is. You are literally speaking a whole different language, and it sucks because I found myself falling into it, and like I'm talking to other people, and then all of a sudden we're both up here, and then we're talking up here, and then our eyebrows are up here, and everything's up here.
That it's exhausting, and I'm just like, it's giving very much, the whole world's a stage, and we're all actors. Like,
yes,
it's so performative, but I'm glad you can be your authentic self.
And we were able to figure out a way to be ourselves with each other.
Yeah.
So you will always find little pockets of safety, little pockets of authenticity, but let's keep it a buck. This is not RuPaul's Best Friends race. Okay. It's not.
Hello.
You are there to solve problems, add value, drive revenue, and not get in the way.
I feel very attacked. No,
Sorry.
And the thing is just like, if you are yourself, like finds like. So if you're your authentic self, you're going to find other people who are their authentic self. Case in point, how we met.
Ding, ding.
And it's just like, you recognize that bullshit. The other person peeps the bullshit. And it's just like, okay.
And we looked out for each other.
Exactly.
Whenever I heard about some crazy shit, I'd be like, hey, just so you know.
Coming down the pipeline.
For real. Let's coming down the pike. Let's circle back on that. Put that in your parking lot.
Yeah, by EOD.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Oh my god. Well, now I'm gonna be talking in corporate jargon the rest of the day.
Oh god.
Oh
no.
And I blame the whole thing, but I'm super excited. We crossed paths. I'm super excited. We got to meet.
I'm so grateful for you.
I'm so grateful for you. Just you're always giving knowledge. I feel like you're just a beast at what you do, who you are. You inspire me to be my best self, and yeah, I'm really glad that we could like talk about this today. But thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Well, I do have a LinkedIn. She is looking for work. Hire me. I think probably the social media that I use the most, because I'm an old head, is Instagram, Fallon Llama, like the Dalai Lama. And I have my own personal website, fallonblossom.com. I'm still building it. And yeah, I just want to say, I'm really, really proud of you for doing this too. Seriously, I remember when you're like, I want to start a podcast. I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. And I will say, just as a guest, the whole guest experience has been amazing.
5 stars on Glassdoor.
Oh, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 10s across the board. But no, I'm really, really proud of you. I cannot wait to see what happens with this, how it grows, how you grow. I'm your biggest fan. I'm going to keep cheering you on.
And I think everything happens for a reason. Like, I probably wouldn't have actually started the podcast had I not had all this time and just all this pent up energy from, not working. So I think everything happens. Of course, I want a job, but I'm really happy that I'm not just being idle with my energy. I'm channeling it into good use.
Yes.
So I'm really excited. Again, thank you all for listening today to Inherently Gay Podcast. I'm Justin Dallas, and we'll see you next week. You can find me on Instagram at Justin Dallas, and you can find the podcast at Inherently Gay, and you can find us on TikTok at Inherently Gay. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.